Hey guys, Justin here from jrfaithcreations. Um, hey, I was thinking about life lessons, and particularly one of the lessons that I felt like was really pertinent to this time and this season of COVID is actually this whole concept of pruning. And I can tell you for one, right? I'm no gardener, okay. um, and definitely not a green thumb. My wife's more that person, but there's so much to learn from pruning and from that concept of pruning and what that actually means. And I think so often what we do is we kind of, in a sense, if you think about pruning from the perspective of a plant, um, it's not a nice thing. Um, imagine a giant set of secateurs coming down on you and pruning away what you think is the most fruitful part of your life. Knowing that you're going, well, surely that was the best thing that could have happened to me in growing that part of your body or whatever it is, and in that kind of metaphor. But the thing is, pruning is actually the thing that actually creates the new ground, that place of growth in the future. And so often what we do, what a plant does, is the plant's looking at going and it gets pruned right back down. And today, it's a very contextual lesson because I just really felt the Lord strongly pushing me to actually prune the roses in my front yard. And I don't know if you can see, but they grow way up in the sky. And roses are never supposed to do that. They weren't supposed to do that. The idea of them is that they get pruned right back, and then they are contained within a natural shape. And it was really interesting as I read this morning, actually, that one of the things that happens in pruning is that a plant is able to grow into its natural shape and therefore have healthy growth. Um, and I think that's interesting because sometimes we find that we just want to grow bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and that's the perfect solution to going forward. But I feel like in this lesson that actually there's so much to take on if we actually think about it in that perspective. So if God says to you that He's growing you into a natural shape, into the shape that He wants you to go into in your life, in your purpose, that has limitations, A limitation might be your skills, your gifts, your abilities. It might be, the fact that you haven't learnt enough to get to that next level, or it might be that actually, just like a rose, you might need to be contained within an area to really flourish. And and I think that's interesting because that's kind of what they say. Like when I was looking this morning, is what pruning does. The pruning enables you to be contained within an area that makes you flourish and the most healthy you possibly can be. It's also, that enables you to be able to be protected from, infection, the aphids, things like that, and also just the increase of animal infestation and things like that that can actually ruin the potential of that plant and that potentially that rose. So what pruning does, pruning takes you away from cutting away what you think is a fruitful and vibrant branch, one that probably produced amazing roses in the year before, um, or the season before, but it actually is not the same branch that's going to produce the new roses. And I think there's so much to learn from that. And so, as you can see, I've got my rose branch here. Um, and, you think about it, like, as you see, I've just got to grow. These are some of the tools that you're using when you come into pruning. And you think about pruning, like, we've got a sharp saw, which is a pruning saw, and we've got secateurs, which are going to, chop what you think is those places that are really flourishing. I imagine like there's times in our lives, that we we get things sawn away from us that it's painful. And it might be the fact that it was such a fruitful area of your life previously, or something like that. So, and so you kind of go, oh, that's part of me. That's part of me. But I feel like there's so much good that comes into a lesson about pruning because it's actually about producing the new, and the new is actually created for the new season. It's not created for the old season. It's not to take on the old. It's not to discredit the old, but it's actually not to take on the old. It's to go into a new season. And so as you grab these things and you start to chop away the branches and those areas of deadness in the branch, as well as those fruitful places, you're going to start to produce what can potentially happen when you get into that next season. So as you chop it back, you notice that what you thought was vibrant and life-giving was actually totally dead, and wasn't going to produce. And it's interesting, I think, of this in the context of the Bible. And the word says that that the Father is the gardener, and he comes along to the vine and he starts to prune the vine in order for it to come into a season of fruitfulness. And as you read in the scriptures, it says that he cuts away those branches. And it's fascinating to think that what we tend to do with our cut away branches is we kind of store them away and we put them in a situation where we go, I don't want to let go of them. But what he does with those branches is he puts them in the fire. And he says, put them in the fire. It might have been a really fruitful branch, but in this next season, it's not going to produce anything. So it's that season of their branches past. And so, it's quite interesting to think that I think so much of what we do, and particularly like the season that we're in a season where we're actually going forward, and we've got COVID-19 season, and what that did do was it pruned off a lot of branches, and some of those branches, we thought were really valuable, but under the situation and the circumstance, what happened was we realised that we had no control at all over those branches being pruned off. Now, it might be applied to your work situation. It might be applied to your family, relationships, school, university. I was affected in so many different areas, from work to university, to family, to all sorts of stuff in that whole process. And I think we all were, and we're all in that kind of journey. And guess what? We're still in that journey. So we're still in that place where things are getting pruned off and things are getting reshaped for a new season. And so I really think it's quite interesting that we are on the precipice, especially in South Australia. Like at the moment, we're very, very fortunate, and not to discredit what's going on over in the rest of the country and the world, but we're very, very fortunate to be able to be in a situation where doors are opening, and there's a freedom that's coming back into kind of life, and life can have this way of potentially going back to normal. But is the normal going back to normal going to be the one that we need to be moving towards? Is it the way we can go forward and actually produce new fruit and produce a new season, and that season for producing that fruit for that season, not trying to recover old? And I think we're at a moment in time where we as humans, we're so powerful. We have the mind to be able to do things, and we have the mind to be able to go back and re-establish old ways, but we also have the mind to maybe take a leap and actually think maybe those branches that were pruned off our lives were actually for a reason. And that you can apply that to your life. I don't know if it was a work situation, or it was a family situation, or a relationship, or a study choice, or something like that. But those things definitely, you know, you have a choice right now. Do you re-establish your old ways, or do you maybe hope and think that maybe there's a new way of doing things? Maybe there's some of the things that I have learned from having these branches pruned off. There's a reason, and maybe you're right in the middle of it, and you're still trying to work that out. But what I will encourage you guys is, as I'm literally pruning a rose bush today, that up high there's greenery, there's potential buds and things like that. But we all know that winter is the season to prune the roses right back. And a few years ago, I had a dear friend of mine actually share with me that the greatest work and energy of a plant or a tree happens in winter, but it's all below the surface. And so what seems lifeless and dead on the top, actually there is a greater life force coming through and underneath the surface and into the branches that you cannot see. And I think, isn't that so interesting that there's so much that we cannot see? I live as a Christian, I live by the motto of I live by faith and not by sight. And that's putting the ability of control in my life in someone else's hands. And for me, it's in Jesus and what he did for me on the cross. That was enough proof for me to show, okay, I want to give you my life. I want that relationship with the Father God through you. And I do want to live out of that place of the Holy Spirit, that place of power where I can impact and be a flourishing plant, And that's my desire is to do that. So yeah, so it's just as we got a truck going across the road there. It's really interesting, just kind of reflecting on those things and going, well, actually, I get so much more out of living by faith and not by sight. And I guess just like this rose, it can't see the roses that will come forth in the season coming up, but it has a hope, and it trusts that the vine dresser, the gardener, has its best intentions for that vine. So yeah, very interesting concept. And yeah, as we reflect on COVID and going out of this into the next season, I pray that you guys, whether you're believers or whether you're not, or whether you're searching, but I know everyone wants to live life as fully as they possibly can. I know that people want to live a life of meaning and purpose and value, and actually want to live a life that actually makes a difference in our world. The process that happens is actually by the way that we give ourselves to pruning. As we do cut things off that are dead in our lives, as we do cut off things that we think are really flourishing, because when we do go into that place, we do open up the potential of what could be, what amazing things could be on the other side of that. And so yeah, I just want to encourage you guys in this season of winter, as everything goes down deep into the surface, the energy of the trees is all happening under the surface, that we actually know that there's something so much deeper going on in our lives. And so I just encourage you guys, don't reattach the old branches. Those branches in the Bible, it talks about those branches going into the fire, and they are cut off and then put into the fire. And that's not it seems like a vicious process. Like the Father is in us, with us in that process as he helps lower them into the fire with us. And so he's not an unemotional God. He is connected to your emotions. But the thing is that he knows that the potential on the other side is greater. So it's just about us entrusting our lives into the pruning and into the situations that have happened. So I'm gonna begin to prune this rose, and saw's not very sharp, but so I might have to stop the video. But it'll just be interesting, and it's I think it's more than just a gardening experience. There's something spiritual going on, it's something deeper, and it's not just a. So there you go, guys. It's that's pruning the roses, and it's right back to the very kind of shape of the plant and the natural shape of the plant. And so we wait in anticipation with what roses may bloom in spring. The season of spring and how they come out. In the meantime, the thing we need to get rid of is, as you can see, this branch covered in disease. And I think sometimes that's what happens with us. Get covered in disease. Dis-ease, that's right. That's what it is. It's a lack of peace. Dis-ease. We get into a place where we worry, we get anxious, and we need to get rid of the dis-ease that's in our lives. And see, I'm not putting this diseased bit of branch, even though it may have had a significant rose on it at some stage. I'm not going to be putting it back in the cupboard to store it away or reattach it, but I'm actually going to be chucking it in the fire. And in this situation is the bin. And so we've got to take these branches, the ones that we think are fruitful and green, and as you can see, fruitful and green. Fruitful and green, see that? You seem to think that that's the life-filled branches, but it was the life-filled branches. It did bring the roses in the past season, but there's a new rose that's going to stem from a new place. And so we chuck these things in the bin, and they will get picked up and they'll never return. And I think sometimes that's what we need to do with some of the stuff that's pruned off our lives. And in COVID-19, I just want to encourage you once again, don't reattach the things that have been pruned off, and move into the new season, move into the new. And let's wait and see what happens, see what springs forth in spring, and a season of new life and new season. So encouragement to all you guys out there, and I think that's especially an encouragement to the church. We've moved through a season where things have been cut off, services have stopped, and all that sort of stuff. Reinventing, rethinking. I just really encourage us to not reattach the old branches into the new season. It's a new season for a reason. So let's go forward, and that is my prayer for the bride of Christ, is that from denominations across the state, across Australia and across the world, that we move forward into the season, and the one that says, where God says, "Behold, I make all things new." That's from the book of Revelation. So bless you guys. That's the gardening experience. As I said, not a gardener, but learn so much from these experiences, learn so much from life and the metaphors that are all around us, and I encourage you to do so as well. Bless you guys. and we'll see you